PerfHUD is a powerful performance analysis tool that will help you isolate and optimize performance bottlenecks in your graphics pipeline. Part of PerfKit, PerfHUD gives you access to driver instrumentation and hardware performance signals available only on NVIDIA GPUs. Using this information, you can improve the overall performance of your application by identifying the slowest stage in your graphics pipeline and debugging functional problems in your Direct3D 9 applications. To start using PerfHUD, simply drag your application onto the PerfHUD launcher. If it's the first time you're using PerfHUD, you'll be prompted for a key combination that will activate PerfHUD. Your application will then run as usual, except that PerfHUD's interface will now be overlaid on it. PerfHUD has 4 main modes that allow you to analyze your application in successively higher levels of detail. PerfHUD starts in the Performance dashboard, which allows you to get a global view of your application's performance. In this mode, timing graphs and graphics pipeline experiments allow you to identify performance bottlenecks in your application. The scrolling graph at the bottom of the screen is like a heart rate monitor, showing you the breakdown of how time was spent in each frame. New in PerfHUD 4 is a similar scrolling graph on the upper right of the screen, showing the workload on the various GPU units over time. 2 graphs on the far right show your AGP and video memory usage. In addition, the resource creation monitor just above the top graph will flash a red indicator each time your application creates a Direct3D resource. Pressing F1 cycles through the on-screen help and startup messages. Using the graphics pipeline experiments in the Performance dashboard, you can test for texture bandwidth bottlenecks by forcing the GPU to use 2x2 textures. You can isolate the vertex unit by using a 1x1 scissor rectangle to clip all rasterization and shading. Or you can see the cost for Direct3D runtime and GPU driver overhead by ignoring all draw calls. You can also hit W to toggle wireframe rendering and D to show depth complexity or overdraw for the current scene. The best way to use the Performance dashboard is to navigate around your scene until you find a viewpoint that exhibits poor performance. You can then use the graphics pipeline experiments, performance graphs, and PerfHUD's other modes to drill down and closely examine what's happening. The debug console shows you all the messages reported by the DirectX debug runtime, and custom messages reported by your application using the output debug string function. Resource creation events and error conditions detected by PerfHUD are also logged in the debug console. Once you've identified a troublesome frame with the Performance dashboard, switch to the Frame Debugger. In this mode, you can use the slider at the bottom of the screen to scrub through the current frame, one draw call at a time. The contents of each texture unit are displayed on the left, with the description of the texture's dimensions, format, and filtering parameters. Using the Show Warnings feature, you can see a list of the most expensive vertex buffer locks and jump to the corresponding draw calls quickly. You can also use Direct3D markers, if present, to quickly jump to particular draw calls. If you use multiple render targets or an off-screen shadow buffer, you can see those as well. Clicking on the Advanced button or pressing the A key gives you access to advanced state inspectors for each stage of the graphics pipeline. The slider at the bottom of the screen is still available, but now you can also see a colored bar at the top of the screen, representing the graphics pipeline. Click on any stage of the pipeline to get more information. Use the Vertex Assembly State Inspector to verify the parameters used to fetch vertex data for the current draw call, and make sure the geometry is correct. Use the Vertex and Pixel Shader State Inspectors to verify that the shader program constants and textures are correct for the current draw call. And use the Raster Operations State Inspector to check the backbuffer format and view all other raster operations settings. New in PerfHUD 4 is the Frame Profiler, which provides automated performance analysis for the current frame. For the first time, you can analyze your application with similar methodology to what our own engineers use. When you enter the Frame Profiler mode, NVPerfHUD runs a series of tests to query various driver and GPU performance counters for each draw call in the current frame. Draw calls are then grouped into state buckets based on criteria that you can specify. By default, all draw calls with the same shaders, raster operation states, and render target are grouped into the same state bucket. You can sort state buckets and draw calls in various ways by clicking on the column headers in the two list boxes that are displayed. You can also click on the Advanced button to view state inspectors for any particular draw call, similar to the frame debugger. At the bottom of the screen, you can see various visualizations of the currently selected draw call. By default, you'll see unit utilization bars for the major GPU units. The yellow section of each bar represents the total time in milliseconds for the frame. The red section represents time used by all calls in the current state bucket, and the orange section represents time used only by the current selected draw call. Other available visualizations are the unit utilization graph, draw call duration, double speed Z and stencil usage, pixel counts, and more. NVIDIA is committed to helping developers create compelling applications that take advantage of the latest graphics technologies. Many of the top game studios and engine providers have already made NVPerfHUD an integral part of their development process. Be sure to check out the NVPerfHUD user guide and quick reference card for more details on techniques you can use to crush performance bottlenecks in your applications. NVPerfHUD is part of the NVIDIA Developer Toolkit, an award-winning suite of cutting-edge content creation, performance analysis, software development, and educational resources. The latest version is a component of NVPerfKit, which you can download from developer.nvidia.com.